Surprises lurk around every corner here on Veld Focus tonight, as a pair of snakes perform a double act. A honey guide pokes his beak into an already occupied hole, and a hoopoe nest is full to bursting with feathery arrivals. Good evening. It's great to be with you here on our newly renovated studio. Our first entry of the evening comes from John Hartman, who's been patiently filming the nest of a group of green wood hoopoes in his garden. The adults can be seen arriving at the entrance with beaks full of insects for one, no two, no three little chicks, all jostling for position and a chance to be fed. The shiny green adults with their bright red beaks are easily distinguishable from the juveniles at this stage, with their black beaks and drab coloring. The meals continue to be delivered, and as expected, things are getting pretty crowded. The sibling rivalry occasionally escalates into a bit of bad-tempered pecking as the opening of the nest becomes somewhat congested. Eventually, one brave chick decides it's time to venture out into the big bad world and climbs out of the nest. The adults congregate in the background to cheer him on, and not wanting to be left out, a second chick follows. Moving about on the trunk of the tree takes a little bit of practice, and there are bound to be a few mistakes. But the last chick has no interest in seeing the great outdoors and is more than happy to stay in the safety of the nest. It is encouraged to join the garden party by the whole family, but looks a little bit nervous about the whole ordeal, if you ask me. A lovely sighting. Thank you very much, John. Did you know, in the Zulu language, the green wood hoopoe is named Inhleka Bafazi, which translates to cackling woman, referring to the cackling call which they perform simultaneously. Next up, John managed to film this greater honey guide, poking its beak into a hole, perhaps investigating it for signs of a meal, or being a brood parasite, an existing nest to sneak its eggs into. Oops, surprise! It looks like it's already occupied by a bush baby. The usually nocturnal primate looks around with big, wide eyes to see who's disturbing his slumber. This gives us a rare opportunity to have a good look at its big ears and goggly eyes. Did you know, all of the lemurs in Madagascar are descendants of an early type of bush baby ancestor? This primitive primate colonized Madagascar, and as it drifted further away from the African continent, they were replaced by monkeys and other primates in Africa, but continued to evolve in Madagascar into the different lemur species we see today. Our next bombshell comes in the form of what appears to be a large snake, filmed by Mark Lynn, which is in the process of devouring an unfortunate gecko. But if you watch carefully, wait and see what's emerging from the snake's mouth. Surprise! It's actually the tail end of another snake. What's even more amazing is the other half-eaten snake is still very much alive. And after a bit of wriggling about, it manages to locate the exit, unfolds itself, and slithers off to safety. The larger snake accepts the miraculous escape and heads in the opposite direction, the dead gecko abandoned by both snakes. We have one last entry for you this week, again filmed by John Hartman. This time it's the beautiful fish eagle who's in for a surprise. After spotting a fish in the water below, it swoops down and successfully grabs it in its powerful talons. But then it realizes how big the fish actually is. It tries to fly off with it over the water, but can't quite manage it and loses its grip at the last minute. If that bird was a fisherman, it would be telling its friends of the one that got away for years to come. Thanks as always for joining us, and remember to keep sending us all your wildlife surprises to info@5050.co.za.